Yeah, I completely agree that data is just the beginning. Data doesn't tell us the story of those students. Data is an opportunity for us to take and say, well, you can cut it this way, it may mean this, it may mean that, but to really be able to look at a student's achievement, you do have to look at their neighborhoods. Whether they have to go translate with their parents at the hospital so they can't be in school, right? Whether they do have health care, because if they don't have health care, they're not going to be willing to come forward and ask for other support. You don't know what that means for that particular family. And in particular, our populations, it isn't just about the lack of data, but it is about looking at students who live in poverty and school districts who are overburdened because they are in impoverished neighborhoods. On top of the fact that we don't have the data to be able to disaggregate about that population, they don't recognize or they might not have an opportunity to look for additional resources. And in particular, I think for our populations, the data that is needed helps us look at more innovative ways to do this work. We found that, community-based organizations are great partners to help school districts. We look at the way that they might do programs so that students can have more support outside of the school so that there will be less burden on the school. But if a particular school doesn't even have the data to begin with, they may not even have the ability to talk to community-based organizations or the ability to outreach to say, hey, actually, we have a disproportionate number of refugees in our population. What are the other support systems outside of just even the Department of Education that help us build stronger neighborhoods? And I think we hope that data will help build a better, fuller picture, and that actually the coalition believes in building that kind of broader picture that includes housing, includes healthcare, with the realization that there is a narrow focus of legislation and policy in certain areas, but that all of our members work in multiple parts to build it completely.
Thank you very much, Dua. And thank you very much for both comments, Nathan. Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi, I'm Frank Wolf at Education Daily, one of the trade newsletters, and I used to live in Little Rock, so a while back. So, anyway, I just wanted to sort of follow up on the previous question and ask you sort of about the data mining for teachers and sort of basically trying to see what the value is of teachers and of schools when you do the data mining, and sort of if you can expand upon that and see. I just wondered what the results have been so far when you look at Arkansas, and you might have some resistance within the system from teachers or from schools to making changes, and basically if you could talk about what you're finding the value of teachers and schools to student performance has been. So.
More than 400 years ago, the prince said that it was nothing more difficult to take it in hand than to take the lead in a new order of things. And it's a little unnerving when you begin to talk about data as it relates to teacher or student performance. And in Arkansas, we are building a growth model that we're actually unveiling today in New York City. In that model, it's transparent, it's easily understood, but we've been in the process of building that model for about 2 years with lots and lots of input from teachers, from the business community, from school boards, from administrators, so that people clearly understand it. People are always frightened of models that they say that psychometrists and statisticians have built in the back room and they can't figure out how you do it. But our system is transparent. People can easily understand how to do it. We'll love to have you go to our website and take a look at that so that people can begin to see how to use that. It's just a system that measures growth from student to student, and then you can track it back to individual classrooms. Of course, you have to have a unique student identifier so that you can clearly identify every student and every teacher, but we're there. We have not unveiled the system. We do see the background data on it, and it's quite interesting. We're really, really excited about it. It has the potential to transform the way we teach kids here in America.
My name is Lee Gordon, and I'm with the Winthrop Rockefeller Foundation in Little Rock, Arkansas. This was not by design, I promise. Just purely by accident. Actually, I have two questions, one for Quentin and then one for Charity Smith. The question for you, Quentin, is as Native American students do graduate from high school, and we hope that number continues to increase, but as they do graduate, do you see the role of Native American colleges such as Bacone and Muskogee growing or diminishing? Is that Is that a helpful route, or does it tend to put them on the side? The quick question for you, Charity, is with respect to Arkansas and teacher salaries, those salaries have grown substantially, and we're happy about that in Arkansas. Does that growth in teacher salaries over the last 5 or 6 years give you leverage with respect to the fact that you're asking more of teachers, particularly in the data area and higher expectations? So have you been able to put the two together, or have they gone independent parallel paths? 2 questions.
In regards to the question about the Native American graduates and the future of tribal colleges, if I understand your question correct, I think there is a great need for tribal colleges. I mean, there is such a need. I know our public institutions and private institutions, many of them have Native American studies programs. You know, the idea, the concept of Native American studies, it's not new, although I remember there was a time that it was new. And so, you, like anything else, you have to learn to be what it takes to be an American citizen. Public school does a good job for doing that. From a Native American perspective, you have to learn, what it takes to be a good tribal citizen. So I think that tribal colleges have a role in the future education of our tribal members, not only to specific tribes, but in general. Just this past weekend, as an example, our Cheyenne Arapaho tribes, we have a Cheyenne Arapaho Tribal College in Oklahoma. The Northern Cheyennes have a Chief Dull Knife College in Montana. The Wind River Reservation, the Northern Arapahoes have a Wind River Tribal College in Wyoming. We met in our homeland in Denver, and we had a Cheyenne Arapaho Studies Conference. And so we presented topics that dealt with the culture, not just history and language, but current events. And so, there's a great need. Indian nations, Indian educators, there's a great brain drain. And when I say that, is that they get educated, they go off, they're successful, but, they're not helping the tribe directly. Tribal nations need future tribal leaders, so there is a great need for Indian tribal colleges.